And the reason that they're calling it Regional Contract 4 is because they're in the process of finishing Regional number 3, which started in 2018, and that contract ends September 30th of 2026, next September. Okay? The previous contract to that one was awarded in 2010, and it ran from 2010 to 2018. And the first regional contract was from 2002 to 2010. So that's 2002 to 2010 was the number 1. 2010 to 2018 was number 2. The current one, which is number 3, is 2018, ends next September 30th, 2026. And the new Regional 4 contract will start on October 1st of 2026. All 3 of those 8-year contracts have previously been won by Sodexo. Okay? And those 3 contracts were 2 contracts each. They had a East Coast and a West Coast. And so in 2002, 2010, and 2018, all 3 times they put out 2 contracts, and both times Sodexo won both the East Coast and the West Coast. Okay? The contract includes Marine Corps bases on the West Coast. They're all in California except for one in Arizona that's at Yuma, Arizona. That's on the West Coast. And on the East Coast, the contracts are in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, DC, and Maryland. Okay, so just going on that, there are 2 states on the West Coast, 4 states in the district on the East Coast. The proposed information that the Marine Corps is putting out for Regional number 4, the next contract, is that it will be 1 contract. There is no longer going to be an East Coast and a West Coast. It's 1 award. And so the premise of the history of where we are to this point is when we first thought that it was going to be East and West, the team of Sodexo and BCI came to the table together to be a joint teaming partner, and we had convinced California and Virginia to be the leads for the West Coast and the East Coast. And this is going back, Sharon's in the loop on this, probably 6-7 months ago, give or take-ish. Okay? Then we got the information that it was going to only be 1 contract. And none of the current states that I mentioned where the Marine Corps locations are were, what would I say, were interested, or they were risk averse to taking on the entire aspect of all of the contract. So the reason, so 2 things. 1, the reason that Sodexo and BCI teamed as jointly to run this is Sodexo brings obviously the operational part of this because they've been running the contract for 23 years. And the BCI team brings the understanding of Randolph-Sheppard. And so the idea was going to be from a quality control perspective and a Randolph-Sheppard perspective, BCI would be the lead. And from an operational perspective, we would lean on Sodexo and their expertise to basically assist and drive that part of the work. Okay, so the BCI team said, I refuse for us to not be able to be in a position to bid on the Regional 4 contract now that it is 1 contract. So we put through a bunch of effort trying to get other states and or the states that were involved to be that lead group. And we were successful in working with the state of Colorado, which now has no specific Marine Corps bases in it, but there isn't anything in the Randolph-Sheppard law that says that you have to have locations in your location or whatever. The state of Colorado has taken the lead now and will be the lead SLA, state licensing agency, for any effort that the group of 4 states and the district, 2 states on the West Coast, the 6 states in the district, they will take the lead for all of those Marine Corps bases in terms of the contract management and the overall contract holder. So let me pause for a second. and make sure that everybody's clear. Colorado is going to be the lead. The states and the district will all be partnered with them. Each of the respective states will have vendors from their respective states operating in their Marine Corps bases. The role of Colorado will be from a quality assurance perspective. They will have some vendors that are on the contract that will have that responsibility. And then obviously they will be the signature should we be successful in winning the contract with the Marine Corps. So I'm going to pause for any questions and then start to dig deeper into the Marine Corps contract and then dig deeper into how does that affect everybody from DC that's on this call.
Okay, so if there are any questions, I'm looking to see. Okay.
I have a question. This is Eunice Meyer.
Yes.
Okay, you said a lot. You said a lot.
I did. And I talk fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. So just to be clear, so you're saying that Colorado is the lead SLA person on this contract?
That is correct.
And with them being the lead on this contract and the other states, including DC, so how do we fit in? If they're the lead person on this contract or entity, how does everybody else fit in?
That's a great question. Great question. Did everybody, I hope everybody heard the question. So the way that we envision this working is, and I'll get to the point where we are awarded the contract and how that works. But let's assume that we are awarded the contract for the Marine Corps Regional 4 contract. That means that Krista, who is Sharon's counterpart in Colorado, and her group there in Colorado will be signing to say, we have this contract and we are going to be the person who is responsible for it. Okay. Then every single state will operate the way that they normally work within their respective state. So for example, there is one dining hall or one base for the Marine Corps in DC. It's called 8th and I. Okay. That
it's called
location,
what? Say that again.
8th,
it's called what?
The number 8, 8th.
Okay, 8.
And
okay, like Henry.
and it's ampersand I.
I
Okay,
think
H
it's
like
called.
Henry.
I want to say
H like Henry. It's H like Henry, N like Nancy, and the ampersand. And what was the last letter?
No.
I. It's 8 like the number 8.
Oh, the number 8. Okay.
The number 8, and it's T with a TH behind it. 8th.
Okay.
And I.
Okay.
Excuse me. I believe that's because it's located on 8th and I.
That is correct. It's
that
the
is correct.
Marine. It's the Marine barracks.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I got you.
So the Marine barracks, or the one that's located on 8th and I, and the Marine Corps refers to it as 8th and I. 8th and I is the one location that a vendor from DC will operate. And when that person operates it, they will have a relationship between Sharon, as they would normally within the SLA, and they will have a relationship between the BCI and Sodexo team. So the real relationship between Colorado is between Colorado and the states and Colorado and the Marine Corps. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So from your perspective as a blind vendor in the state, in the district, you will basically have your normal relationship that you have with Sharon, and you will have a relationship with the teaming partner, that's BCI and Sodexo, in terms of those pieces. The only time that the Colorado group will impact you is they are going to have anywhere from 2 to 4 vendors that are going to be doing quality control. And so, and it's going to be primarily from a distance, okay? And so they're going to be getting customer comment cards. They're going to be getting input impact, things of that nature. And if there are issues, both positive or negative, at the one location in DC, you will get impact from that.
Mhm.
Did that help answer that question?
Yeah, it does. So
Okay.
then, who's priming the contract? Would it be DC SLA, and then Sodexo? Okay, got it.
The contract itself will be signed by Krista's team in Colorado.
Okay, but my
The
question is,
Marine Corps
who's
doesn't.
priming it?
The Marine Corps does not and will not let multiple states be involved that they have to coordinate with. So what they're looking for is one contact that says, we own this contract. And the one that will do that is Colorado.
Okay, so does that mean they are priming it? Prime,
Yes.
P-R-I-M-E. So they're
Yes.
the prime.
They are the prime.
And you guys.
Yep.
And you guys are the sub.
We're the teaming partner.
Okay. So
Right,
then
so-
what's the split?
Let me get to that closer as we go further along in terms of those pieces, because it's a little bit different than normal projects, and I can't do that without telling you how the Marine Corps contract works. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions at this stage? And the next step I'm going to do is to dig deeper into what's the Marine Corps contract look like.
Okay.
Okay. So the Marine Corps contract has 40, I'm looking to make sure I have the right number. It has 46 dining halls. Okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 of them on the West Coast and 26 on the East Coast. Okay. As I mentioned before, there are 19 of the 20 on the West Coast are in California. There's 1 in Arizona. Okay. Then on the East Coast, there are 6 dining halls in South Carolina at 2 locations. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 14 in North Carolina on 2 locations. There are 5 in Virginia on 1 location. There's 1 in Maryland, and there's 1 in DC. I don't know if that added up to the right numbers. You guys could check my math.
Came up to
As
27.
long as you have.
27. So there's
DC.
47 dining halls then.
Okay.
Okay.
As
So
long
there's
as you have
40. There's
DC
27
right,
on the East Coast, 27 on the East Coast, 20 on the West Coast in the breakdown that I just gave you. Okay. The way that the way that this works is there's one price per se per soldier. So you charge, the Marine Corps gets charged a set amount per soldier. So I'm going to use a number somewhere in it's going to be somewhere in the $12 to $15 range per meal or whatever is what it is going to be. And there are anywhere from 22 to 26 million meals a year that are served. So doing the math on this, it's about a $250 million contract a year. Okay. And the way that it works is essentially it's very different than some of the other Department of Defense contracts. The other Department of Defense contracts, they usually have 2 contracts, one for food, one for the service. Okay. So they typically, when we're at, I'm going to use Fort Jackson down in South Carolina where BCI is teamed there. We have 10 dining halls. We provide everything from the project manager to the senior cook to the cooks to the food service workers, to the dishwasher, to the pot and pan person, to the cashier, all to the person who basically orders rations. All of that is the personnel side of what we do. Then the military has a separate contract with Cisco to provide the food. And so then what we do is we order the food. We have to do it within a certain tolerance. They give us a basic daily food allowance for the soldier. We have to be within 3% high or low of that number. And then at the end of the month, they're going to pay Cisco direct from the Army, in that case, direct to them under their contract for the food. So in effect, the DoD contracts that are the primary ones that Randolph Shepherd and vendors do across the country, we're not in the food game. Okay, we're serving it, we're cooking it, we have to run it within a certain tolerance, but there's a separate contract for the food. On this Marine Corps contract, it's all in the same contract. So we are responsible for the food purchase, we're responsible for the menu, we're responsible for all of those elements associated with this underneath the $250 million that I'm describing. Okay. So what we have decided is, as the states have been working together in conjunction with the BCI and Sodexo team, there's lots of discussion about how do you split this thing up and how do you also take away risk associated with this. Okay. And the problem that lies in this is there are effectively 3 states out of the 7 that have the majority of the contract. Okay. So California with its 19, and then South Carolina and North Carolina with their multiple numbers of dining halls make up probably something in the neighborhood of 90% of the whole contract in terms of volume, okay, in terms of the number of soldiers that go through those locations. But what was decided and what is the path that we're going down is to go down a path which says that depending upon the state, each of these states will get a set amount of dollars for those blind vendors. And then some of the larger states, South Carolina, North Carolina, and California, will have multiple vendors at those locations. And those multiple location vendors will get the same thing as one at a one location vendor. So as an example, the state of California has picked 5 vendors already. They have selected their 5 vendors, okay? Those 5 vendors are going to be splitting up the same dollars, and they're going to have responsibility at different locations and run their respective locations, but make the same dollars at those locations. Each one of those 5 is going to make the same as the one at 8th and I in DC. Okay. And the target piece that we have in this mix is each of those locations would have a vendor making $400,000 a year. And what we've done is the number, and the number didn't just be, it wasn't an arbitrary number. What happened was we said, what do we think this project is going to be? How much do we think you ultimately make? And then how much of that piece in a 51-49 type of a split would be going to vendors as a whole? And then what is that full pie in terms of that piece? And that's how we came up with that number that was there. And what the number does is it takes away the risk, because 8th and I by itself feeds approximately 800 soldiers a day, 800 meals, excuse me, about 800 meals a day, okay? We have locations like Parris Island, like Camp Pendleton, where they're feeding multiple thousands a day. So if we were to basically sit there and carve it up based on the quantity of people that were eating at 8th and I compared to some of the others, that number of 400,000 would be significantly less in this case for this phone call that we're having right now. But that's not how we're doing it. I think Sharon's been a part of this mix in terms of the discussions. I can assure you that knowing the number of locations that we have that feed 800 meals a day, and the type of dollars that a blind vendor is making at those locations, this is an incredibly lucrative piece for the district. So I don't know, I'll stop for a second. I know that was a long answer getting to the short question, which is what are the splits? But I wanted to make sure that I gave you some context in that to be able to do that.
So the 400,000 a year for 8th and I is for the one vendor, blind vendor, that would be at that location. Is that correct?
That is correct. You are correct.
Okay, so the other question is, so is Sodexo the incumbent now?
Yes.
Is there an incumbent? Sodexo is the incumbent.
Sodexo is the incumbent. They have been the only one to operate the regional contract, the 3 previous ones, for the last 23 years.
And you're teaming with them for this particular effort.
That is correct, because I think what would happen is if they were on this call, we'd be having a lot less information because they don't understand Randolph-Sheppard the way that we do.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea in this mix is we win. Everybody goes and cheers and it's great and we're all wonderful and it works, right? Now it's like, okay, how are we going to work together? I've done this with groups all over the country. And so this is going to be one where the training, the resource, the ability to pick up the phone and call someone from that BCI team is going to be so easy for someone who is the selective vendor at 8th and I, and so easy for Sharon in terms of what she may need as the SLA, because she will have both the resource of Krista, who will be the prime in Colorado, but she also has the ability to basically touch base with the BCI team or the Sodexo team.
So the successful vendor in DC responsibility would be to do what?
Yeah, it's a perfect question. Great lead in. You're like, you literally are taking my cliff notes that I have for this meeting and going down the list. So I appreciate it. So what is the response? Let me do one other thing before we get to what's the responsibility. So the process right now is the state of Colorado is the prime. The other states are in the process over the coming month plus of creating their agreements between themselves and the state of Colorado. In other words, because this isn't just a project in DC, if this was just in DC, Sharon would basically work with the Marine Corps, okay? But because it's a regional contract and it's across multiple states, we have to have some understanding as to what the state of Colorado and the District of Columbia will do in terms of how they operate. So they're going to do the hard work of basically creating that agreement between themselves for each one of those other 6 locations with 6 states or 5 states in the district with the state of Colorado. And then over the course of the next month or whatever, a little bit past that, each of those states that have not already selected their vendor will select their vendors. So I can tell you, for example, Virginia has selected one vendor already. I heard through the grapevine, Sharon, that they might have multiple vendors. So I'm not sure if they're going to add vendors to that one or if they're going to stay with that one. As I've already mentioned, California has picked their 5 vendors. Arizona picked their 1 vendor, but he is now at a location at Fort Huachuca that is more lucrative than what would be at the Yuma location. And so they are going to have to reselect a new vendor in Arizona. So they're going to do their selection. North Carolina needs to select vendors, South Carolina needs to select vendors, and Maryland needs to select a vendor. Okay? So that is what will take place over the next 30, 60 days, is getting all of the ducks in line. So the prime is in place, which it is. The prime and all the respective states are in place with their working arrangement. And each one of those states has their selected vendors in place. Okay? So once that piece is done, then we are going to wait for, we have asked the Marine Corps, we is the state of Colorado, has asked the Marine Corps to direct negotiate this contract, to sole source this contract, okay? And what that means is we basically said, under the Randolph-Sheppard Act, you have 2 abilities to basically take a full food contract like this to market. One is you can sit in a room and say, I'm going to send you the solicitation. I want you to bid on it. I want you to tell me how you're going to do it. I want you to price it, and we will negotiate and finalize a contract between you and between the state of Colorado and the Marine Corps. Direct negotiation, sole source. No one else has an opportunity at that point in time. That is the mother lode of what we want on this phone call. Okay. What we want is for the Marine Corps to come back to the state of Colorado and say, we intend to sole source this contract to you. And then we put together all of those things that I just described. That's one way they could do it. The other way they could do it is to say, I'm going to put this out for bid for any company or group that basically thinks that they can do this work with a Randolph-Sheppard priority, which says that the Randolph-Sheppard, in this case, the state of Colorado as the prime, can bid this project. And if they're in the competitive range, when the bids come in, then they will win this contract. Okay. So that one means we're competing against other bidders. And obviously that means that it is, we have some risk of winning, versus the first one is if you can sit down in a direct negotiation and actually get them to award to you, then you win the business and you don't have any competition. We have the letter in. We do not know where the Marine Corps is going to go with their decision in terms of, are they going to choose box 1, sole source, or box 2, competitively bid. We're hoping for 1. Okay. So once let's just say that they pick number 1, that means that Krista, as the state and the state of Colorado and the prime with the Sodexo and BCI team are probably we're all putting together a bid, which 99% of that bid is being constructed by Sodexo and BCI. Okay. We're putting together how we're going to do it, the pricing, the this, the that, all of those things for submittal through the state of Colorado, and then Colorado submits it. Okay. And then if everything goes smoothly and they award it to us, my guess is that they will give us at least 90 days ahead of the October 1 next year start in terms of a time frame. Okay. So in other words, let's just say somewhere in the next 2 to 4 months, they're going to say, I'd like to sole source this with you, or I'm going to put it out for bid. And whichever one they do, they're going to make that decision by, let's say at the latest, June of next year. Because they need to, if for example, it was competitively bid and somebody else won it, they need 90 days to transition in. Even on this particular one, there are things that will change that we need to basically make sure that from their end and the contractor end that they give at least 90 days of time frame. So I would fully anticipate that sometime at the latest that they would make an award in June of 2026 for a start of October 1st, which leads us now to your question, which is, what's my responsibility if I'm awarded 8th and up? Okay.
I have another question just before you answer that one.
No problem.
So this effort will start next year in October. Is that correct?
The actual contract itself will not start until October 1 of next year. Correct.
26. And right. So if the Marine Corps decides to do a sole source, of course, that's the best case scenario. But if they go out and make it competitive, did you say that Randolph-Sheppard still has a leg up on the other companies?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes. Which is why we think that the chance of having a sole source is pretty good. So a little bit of history. Last time when they bid the Regional 3 contract, the one that was awarded in 2018, Sodexo did not bid with the state. They bid on their own. The state of South Carolina took the lead for the East Coast, and they submitted a bid with a different teaming partner. And that bid was put in, and it was rejected, and they awarded to Sodexo. The state of South Carolina then went to arbitration and contested that award. That took multiple years, okay, to go through the legal process and all of the things. And at the end of that process, South Carolina won the arbitration. Okay, they won and were told essentially that what they put together should not have been excluded from the competitive piece, and that they could or should have won that particular project. What's unfortunate is in an arbitration, which is the only way in which a state licensing agency is legally able to combat something, arbitrations aren't binding. So in other words, the Marine Corps lost the arbitration and chose to do nothing. They chose to just sit on the sideline, ignore the fact that they lost the arbitration, not in the contract with Sodexo, and make it open to something else or award it to South Carolina for the East Coast. They just acted like they'd never lost the arbitration. And so I say that to say the Marine Corps knows full well that there's a high probability that Randolph-Sheppard will be the awardee or should be the awardee, and that they could be in the same pickle that they were in there in Regional Contract 3 that says, if I don't award it to them, could I be in an arbitration, and could I potentially lose that arbitration and then be going down this rabbit hole of everything that goes along with it? So I do think that there's a lot of momentum that says, why not go sole source and do this contract with the existing contractor, the BCI team, the 4 states on the East Coast plus the district, the 2 on the West Coast, and Colorado as the prime contractor. I don't know if did that answer that question?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so now I want to go to what happens when we win, okay? Because that's basically what we're saying. So let's say it's June of next year, and whichever way they've done it, direct negotiation or competitive bid, the state of Colorado wins the one contract, okay? So now everybody in those 7 states is cheering, happy. There are vendors that are going to be at locations starting October 1. What are they going to be doing? They are co-managed. The best way for me to describe this is they are co-managing the entire operation. So effectively, whether it's the personnel, whether it's the food purchase, whether it's the union negotiations, there are also subcontracts that have to be in place that are mandated on the Marine Corps contract. Some of them are with Ability One. Some of them have to be with small business like Hub Zone or women-owned businesses. So there will be some coordination associated with that piece. So what will end up happening is, I'm going to call this kind of like getting an MBA in food service for that vendor. So the vendor at 8th and I, on day 1, he or she does not have a clue what needs to be done. So the objective on day 1 is for the BCI team to educate, train, and basically make sure that they become a working member of the total management team at that location. So when those 800 people come through in a day and they're being fed, I want that vendor to know who my people are that feed them, what I buy, who I buy it from, what my food costs are, what my labor hours are that I'm planning to use, who's the union that, or what are the requirements for personnel in terms of paying them. You know, all of those elements are the things that are there. And I usually build this up into 3 components. One is the operational side of this, one is the financial side of this, and one of this is the HR side of this. Okay. So it's one thing for a vendor in DC to have a location and have 5 employees. This is going to have tens and tens of employees. Okay. So now I need to basically make sure that the vendor is really astute in terms of how to manage a location like that. So that's part of the training and what we do associated with that. Then the second one is the financial aspects of it. So this is, you know, we might charge $13 or $15 a meal for each soldier that comes through. What happens with those dollars? How does that actually get broken down and everything else that's associated with that? I want that vendor to own that just like I own that. Okay. And then the third part is the operational side, which is, you know, how do we feed these people? You know, what's the rules and regs, and how do we basically, if there's a piece of equipment that breaks down, an oven goes out. That's not our oven. We're responsible for letting the government know that the oven broke, but the government is actually responsible for fixing the oven or whatever, et cetera. Okay. We're responsible for the food. We're responsible for the storage of it. All of the aspects associated with the operations, I want that to be something that the vendor knows. So think of this. The one thing I've not mentioned is the Marine Corps has indicated in all of the early things that they've said that this is going to be a 10-year contract. So this is a base year plus 9 options. And the options are not ours, they're theirs. Okay. So the option is October 1 of 2026, you start in the base year and you're good till September 30th of 27. Somewhere about 90 days before the end of the year, that contract year, they're going to extend you for the next option year, and so on and so on and so forth. Okay, so example is the 8-year contracts that Sodexo has been running. The 3 of them have all been base plus 7. Okay, base plus 7 years. So every single one of those option years has been extended in every way, shape, or form. The only reason that I have ever seen a contract not be extended is, one, you do a lousy job. I mean, and you have gotten so many warnings about what you must do better that you have ignored those, and you are so bad that the government has to terminate your contract. And the only other reason that I've ever seen that is there have been a couple of locations where funding has run out or is not appropriate or whatever, et cetera. And so then they do not extend the contract because their funding is not there. This is not one of those, because this is the entire Marine Corps, except for, this is the entire Marine Corps in the United States, except for one base in Hawaii called K-Bay, and the BCI team teams with the state of Hawaii on that project. Okay, so in the continental US, this is all 47 dining halls. So there's no chance that they can stop this contract in any way, shape, or form based on funding. The only thing that would ever be in play would be based on performance. And obviously, the thing that makes you sleep well at night is the fact that the Sodexo team has been there for 23 years. So clearly, you know, if they were not doing stuff well, then they would have had problems prior to this year. Okay. So the 1 + 9, the 10 years that we have, the way that I look at this is kind of one of those where what you want to basically be is, if you're that selected vendor at 8th and I, the first year, you want to basically make sure that you're picking up, you know, a third or a half of all of the things that we want to train you on. By the time you get to maybe year 2, you are like, I know everything there is to know about this contract, and I'm able to continue to do that. And then what we will do is we expect that that vendor is present at the location and is present at the location. And we expect that that vendor is in all meetings that are associated with management of the operation. Okay, so this is a collaboration between the Sodexo BCI team and the selected vendors. And I don't know if that answered the question that you had.
It kind of does. So I have 2 questions. So how do you come up with the $400,000 a year? That is what percentage of what number? And I'm assuming you are taking the numbers from what Sodexo is making currently.
We're actually not taking what they do currently. We're taking what we anticipate will be the future, you know, contract itself. There are going to be a few things that are different on this new contract compared to the current contract. One thing that we believe that's going to happen is that they're going to try to shift towards more of a campus style dining. So like if you're on a university and you see brands and different types of options, like a taco here or a Chick-fil-A there, or different things along those lines, we believe that they're going to start to integrate some of those things into this new contract. The current contract is much more like your high school cafeteria, where you go down the line, you might have a grill. At the grill, there's hamburgers, hot dogs, things of that nature. But then there's mainline items. It could be a pork chop, could be could be a fish, a shrimp, or whatever. There could be greens that are there. There could be starches that are there. And then there's generally a salad bar somewhere in the middle of the entire, you know, location. That's the traditional Marine Corps one right now. we believe they're going to be transitioning to something that's a little bit more of a blend of those two that I just described. And so what we've done is to say, when we think that this is what they do, and we put all of this together, what do we think is going to be made on the entire contract? And then what we did is we said, okay, if we were doing this 5149, we think that there's going to be this much that's made, and then there are this many vendors or this many locations across the whole contract. And we split that up and then said, what is that number? And the number then turns out to be the 400,000.
So how does Colorado get paid?
Great question. So Colorado gets paid through the 4 vendors that they're going to have on the QC part. So their vendors are going to be responsible for and when I say this loosely, oversight. I mean, clearly they can't see what's going on at 8th and I in DC from Colorado. Okay. But there's information that gets transferred and transmitted between that base and the full contract itself that they will then be privy to in terms of customer service comment cards, inspections that are being done. So we're going to probably have somewhere around 50 to 100 inspectors for the whole contract. Okay. So there would be a QA, a quality assurance person that's at 8th and I, and he or she is going to be doing inspections. And then those inspections are going to go ultimately to one of those 4 vendors that are in Colorado, so they can compile those and stay on top of this, so that they can essentially say to the group, how are we doing? Okay, are we doing good? Do we need to improve on this? Do we need to keep doing more of this because it's really good? What are we doing in terms of quality assurance? And so Colorado is going to get paid based upon those vendors that are there in their locations there. You said you had 2 questions. Is that 1 or 2? Is that both of them or just 1?
I think that was both.
Okay, no problem.
The first question was, what was the $400,000?
Oh, how did it get made up?
Of what number? Yeah.
You got it. Got it. I think we figured out that there were, there's 5, 6, give me a second. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think there's around 15 or 16 vendors that will be selected for the project as a total. And don't hold me to that exact number, but that's my guesstimate, is around 15 or so. Okay.
Hello, Mr.
And
Blackstone.
Yes.
This is Clinton Robinson. I have a question.
Sure.
But I'll wait because I think you was about to say something.
No, go ahead. I was good.
Okay. What is the criteria for, so first let me ask one question. So only one vendor will be selected from the Randolph Shepherd of Washington, D.C. Am I correct? Just one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then, so my second question is, a Randolph Shepherd program has a seniority program. Now, there's some people that, even though they've been in the program for many years, may not have the experience that, say, a new vendor could come in and prior to them coming into the Randolph Shepherd, could have had 30 years in, mess hall, catering, just the whole many years of experience. How would they be selected? How would that vendor be selected? Will the criteria for the Randolph Shepherd program be used as, okay, you've been in the program for 15 years, so you have, first dibs on it, if you will. But will vendors be selected based on what they can prove they have done in the past and the wealth of experiences that they bring? How would they be selected?
Right now, we're proposing that the vendor selected would go, this process would go through call down. And because the seniority
Mhm.
is the basis that we have right now, because of the, I want to say, and this is, we're giving you more information than you need, Joe, but, the performance piece isn't that solid yet, but we're still working on that. But Joe doesn't have anything to do with the selection.
Each
Okay, I just
state will
wanted
do
to
their
know,
own.
like, how
Each state will do their own selecting, in with their rules and regs for their state, their respective location.
Okay, I just wanted to know that. And then my second question is, when you say 400,000, but then I also heard you say you charge each Marine $15, per meal or something like that. So how does that work? Are they getting a base pay of 400,000, and then you're still charging the Marine $15 for the meal or whatever they buy?
Now,
So
so
I'm kind of confused on that.
no problem. So the $15 is what the state of Colorado as the prime will charge per soldier to the Marine Corps. The actual soldier does not pay that amount of money. They don't pay anything. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They're not paying to basically eat. We're charging the Marine Corps a fee per soldier to basically have that soldier come through and eat. That is completely
Okay, I got it.
separate than the 400,000 that would be the earnings or the profit share per se or whatever, et cetera, of the blind vendors in the program that we have that would be in this. The effectively like the 15 or 16 vendors that we're talking about.
Mhm.
But
Okay, thank you. I
in
understand.
but
Okay.
in that regard, how is the $400,000 dispersed? How would it
Monthly.
be dispersed? Monthly. So
Monthly?
400,000 divided by 12, and that's what you would get every single month.
That's correct. And generally
33,000.
speaking, what's that?
I just said 33,000 a month.
Oh, yes, exactly. Correct. And then basically in the
Oh, wait.
past, what we've always done is we've front loaded that money. So in other words, when we start on October 1st, then on October 1st, you get paid for the month of October.
So that's gross, is that correct, Joe?
That is correct. So then if you have other expenses underneath there within the program, that's between you and your normal process as a licensed vendor in the district.
And just to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Von Roach said, you did say that the vendor that is the successful vendor that gets this particular opportunity, they will be trained, right? So 100%. It doesn't really matter what you will be trained. So it really doesn't matter what your past experience is, because you will be trained on this job.
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, obviously, you're going to go through a selection process that Sharon will coordinate with the district, right?
Absolutely,
so once that process is completed, whoever that a successful person is, it will get the training that I'm describing for this location.
Right. And that was really directed at Mr. Robinson in terms of our process in Randolph Shepherd, because we do go by seniority. And so, and if you got somebody at the bottom of a totem pole who have 100 years doing this, it doesn't really matter. Because
I know, but I look at it as I could be Tom Brady, and I won 7 Super Bowls, and then they want to train somebody to be a Super Bowl. I mean, there's nothing compared to when you've been doing something for years. It's a catering and all that is a very specific, skill set. You can be trained, but that don't mean that you are going to be able to serve things adequately as somebody that has, top-notch skills.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
It's shared. Yeah.
You all
but I
are getting
understand.
away from the. You all are getting away from the meeting.
So
Y'all are
No,
getting
we're
away
not.
from the meeting.
That's all.
Yeah, we can discuss this in about 10 more minutes, because We want to make sure we allow Joe to, present his information and then let him go and do other things, and then we can hang back as a group and talk. But I did
So,
want to, and maybe this can wait till later, but I do want to say it, Joe, while you're on here, this whole thing about, yes, you'll get 33,000 per month. And if something else comes up, then it's really left up to the vendor their discretion on whether they pay for X, Y, and Z. However, the way that I'm interpreting this all is that the identified vendor is really coming in and observing whatever Sodexo is already doing, because they're the mastermind behind delivering this type of service. And like you said, that the role is for the vendor to be on site regularly. I'm taking that daily. And then to participate in all of the management meetings. So the vendor is really acting as a manager and not doing any of the hiring and the food purchases and all of that stuff, because Sodexo is doing it. So
That
there would be no
that is accurate.
reason. Yeah, okay, so there would be no reason for the vendor to go out fixing equipment and all this
Nope.
other stuff. If something's broken, Sodexo is going to fix it.
That's correct. And they have
Okay.
people, that they have jobs that's what their responsibility is at each one of these locations. Okay. So you don't get into the weeds as the blind vendor. Okay. You are a high level manager. Okay. You are not making a meal. You are not cleaning a dish. You are not doing any of those types of things. You aren't hiring and firing people or whatever, et cetera. You have managers that are on the team that are hiring and firing those folks or whatever, et cetera.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I
it's
just
just the management.
wanted to emphasize that point. So everybody, you have to look at it differently. You're not hands-on in this role. Whoever gets selected, you are not hands-on. So
This is not like a small cafeteria
right.
in one of the federal or state buildings or one of the district buildings in DC. This is a global, big picture. You have managers, and he or she's are responsible for X. And then there are other people underneath them that are responsible for, like, for example, the shift. So you could have a project manager for the whole base. And then you could have someone who is running the first shift, someone who's running the second shift, and things of that. That does make a point. There is a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner meal at the 8th and I location. So this is 3 meals a day, and they are open on the weekends, but the head count on the weekend is significantly less than that 800 during the week. Okay, so the time frame that a blind vendor should be present at the location is that Monday through Friday time frame.
I had a question about training real quick. I don't know if you answered it or not, but is this in person or virtual?
These are in person. So the idea is you get to know what's going on in terms of the financial, the HR, and the operational piece. You get that information much better received at 8th and I.
Okay, so it will be on site at that location.
It will.
Got you.
There'll be
Okay.
some things, like, for example, if our CFO is working with you on understanding the financials and things of that nature, that could be virtual. Okay. But in general, most of the operational and the HR components of what we do are going to be there at the site.
This is for sale. Is there any chance of the facility can be unassigned and the income be divided among all the vendors?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Short answer.
I answered that real quick.
I always share, and I always have there's the long answer and the short answer. The short one is no, and the long one is heck no. Right.
I like that. All right. Well, I see we're at 4:00, and I see. Okay, you just answered that question. There was one other question that I didn't hear anything about, and that was, what is the population basically at the Marine barracks in DC? I don't know if you have that information or not.
I don't know how many soldiers, but I do know the number of meals is 800 a day.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you split that up, a third, and a third, you're somewhere around 270 meals or so, 270 people eating each meal.
Okay.
Okay.
And did you have anything else that you wanted to share with us?
I did not. I looked at my
somebody
list
does
and
have
I
a
have
hand
gone down
raised.
it in full.
Okay. Well, folks, if you don't have any other questions,
Someone does have their hand raised, Miss Sharon.
oh, do they? I don't
Who
see.
is? Oh, right.
Oh, I don't know who
or-
Brandon Robinson is.
It's okay. Let me introduce myself. Mr. Blackstone, thank you for taking the time, first of all, for having this meeting with us today.
Sure thing.
My question, and I think you kind of answered it with that short answer a few moments ago, but basically, if the vendor has 20 years of seniority and a newer vendor like myself, or at least in partnership with the vendor who's newer, has government experience in regards to serving meals, could there be a collaboration in using the staff, or they have to find their own like outside help to do their part of the contract?
I want to step in because we kind of covered this. And again, Brandon
Just so I
Robinson.
understand for clarity.
Yes, understand. Brandon Robinson, who are you?
I'm an executive chef, and right now I'll be helping Mr. Clinton Robinson in
Gotcha.
his program. And what I would like to understand is how this program works in regards to working with other vendors.
Okay. Thank you for sharing who you are. The bottom
It
line
sounds
is,
it's
go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're asking a question relative to like if we would have executive chefs as a part of our team at the location. Is that what you're asking? Or are you asking something different within the Randolph Shepherd program?
Yeah, so if let's just say Sharon is the person who wins the bid to do this contract. She's been on the program for 20 plus years. She's awarded. But then she also realizes, well, Brandon has an extensive, background in catering, government, and food service. I'd like to have him on my team, and I'm not a Randolph Shepherd member, but I do know of the program, and I will be working with someone who is a vendor in the near future. So is it possible for myself to collaborate and work with so that Miss Sharon could be successful when she starts off her bid on October 1, 2026?
She doesn't have a bid.
No.
It's an example. It's an example.
Yeah. Let me try to say this again, and Joe, please chime in. Because Sodexo is the incumbent, they know all of the ins and outs of how this dining opportunity works, and they do the hiring, firing, training, or what have you. That's still going to be their bailiwick. So, to use your example, if I was the one who won it, I'm not going to do any hiring. Sodexo is.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep. There could be employment opportunities within the team, obviously. And obviously, if Sharon were the selected line vendor, there might be a situation where someone like yourself or someone who's an executive chef would be joining the team to basically provide that service. But that would just be as a part and a member of the team, just like any other employment opportunity for someone within the group.
Understood. I appreciate you,
Okay.
Mr. Blackstone.
No worries.
Okay. If there are no other questions, Joe, thank you so much. This has been so insightful, and I'll be back in touch if I have,
I'm sure.
some
I know that.
follow-up stuff.
And if there are follow-ups, more than welcome to do answer those or whatever, et cetera. I know it was a lot of information in a short period of time. And like I said, I know I talk fast. and cover things quickly, but hopefully it was beneficial for everyone that participated.
Okay. Well, thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much. And
Thank
I'm going to
you so
step
much.
off. If you want to hold on, then that's
Yeah.
fine, but I'm stepping off.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Joe. Have a wonderful day. All right. So what did everybody think in a nutshell?
I think
I feel
it's a
this is a
great
great
Brenda
opportunity.
Beatty. This is Brenda Beatty, and I really thought that was very, very well expressed, and I didn't have any questions because I think he touched on everything. Ms. Eunice Miles had some excellent questions, and he answered those to the point where I didn't have any additional questions, to put forth. So I'm very satisfied with Mr. Blackstone.
Great,
his
great.
I agree. I think he did a very thorough job. But you know what? I don't know if I'm the only one feeling this, but I'm feeling some kind of way with someone that is not a blind vendor being in on this call.
Well, that's why I'm glad you raised that, because that's why I was like, well, who are you? And I really don't think that you should be on the call, Brandon Robinson. Even though
I'm
you
sorry.
might be working for someone else, but this is really just for the blind vendors. So if you could excuse yourself, I would appreciate that. And
Before you
have a
do that,
great day.
before you do that, can he be considered as a PCA? Because he was helping me out with taking notes and stuff too. And it didn't say that he couldn't do that. He's my PCA. Right?
That's one
You have to
thing.
have somebody that can help you out, right? But that wasn't stated in the email. It didn't say he couldn't have a PCA. He's my PCA, taking notes for me.
And what's a PCA?
Right.
Well, whatever it is, it's my personal assistant.
assistant.
Everybody has a
Fine, but
PSA,
well, I don't know.
right?
I don't have one. But
Well,
I
I think you guys know what I'm speaking. Excuse me, I may be saying it wrong, but everybody, when they are going on trips, when they have to have assistant, they have what they call, is it a PCA? Or somebody please correct me. But he's
Personal
helping me
assistant.
out.
What is it? Is that an acronym for something?
A personal care
PCA?
attendant, a personal care attendant, or a personal care assistant.
Okay.
Either
Assistant.
way
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah.
And
Why
I'm
don't
I'm entitled to that,
okay.
right?
Why
I
don't
am
we
entitled to that, right?
Okay, why don't we do this since it really caught everybody off guard? The BBC would be an important lead on this type of discussion, and to have that discussion about who should or should not attend and what type of assistance is allowed. And I don't want to address that right now, because we don't have the time, but we will follow back up with you, meaning the SLA and the BVC will put our heads together on this.
Could
But
I
isn't
have
that
one
the
last
law?
thing?
Thank you.
I just want to say one last thing. I don't think it's so much a problem with him being there with you, but for him to participate in the discussion is
Mhm,
what I had an issue with.
mhm,
Not that he was
mhm,
not, that he's not there taking notes, because my people are here, but they
mhm.
would never interrupt and have something to say during this meeting. That was my point.
But
Absolutely.
Miss Sharon,
yes,
if I
but
may, because I've listened to everybody else. So, in part of executing my role, or at least assisting Mr. Clinton in doing his role, some clarification so that I can explain, understand, and do the job correctly means that I have to ask questions. I don't think it's fair for someone to say or assume that why is he asking questions? He doesn't have anything to do with this, when you don't know what exactly it is that Mr. Clinton will be starting with, or what his goals are. So if I'm asking questions, maybe both of us looking at each other are like, well, what does that mean? Like, can we collaborate? Can we work together? And asking the questions that I asked to Mr. Blackstone were not out of line. So I apologize if you felt like me being a participant in the meeting was non-beneficial, but it was to us.
Yeah.
And that's why I took the step, because I said, let me ask it in this manner so that we can get the answer that we're looking for. Would you
Okay.
not agree?
I can appreciate your point of view. All I'm saying is that has not been the practice before, and it just caught everybody off guard. And typically, these meetings have been the voices for the vendors only, but yet there are people on here that have people that serve as assistants, and they don't chime in. So that's why I'm saying give me an opportunity to talk with the BVC for us to look things up and just vet it all. And we'll get back with you. But for right now, if you can exit, I would appreciate that.
And I'll do just that. And Mr. Clinton is the newest vendor. So for both of us to understand clearly, Ms. Von Roach, that's all my participation is so that
Mhm.
we can get up to speed like how everybody else is, where neither of us, even though he's the participant in the program, neither of us know the information like everybody else. This is brand new for both of us. That's it.
Okay.
Have a great
I
day.
can, yeah, thank you. Okay, so I felt like the meeting went well because those of you who forwarded questions ahead of time, I forwarded them on to Mr. Blackstone, so he was prepared to address everything. I reiterated, this is a different approach, and he summed it up very well. Um, this is whoever is going to be the selected person is in a high level management role. So you're not going to be doing the things that you do now. So just keep that in mind, once you leave this meeting and kind of ponder over, whether or not you want to participate in this. And I'm saying, because the next thing, and then this would be Jelani and the PNT would be putting together a call down, for this one opportunity.
And just to chime in, LaShawn and Ms. Addison and I have already spoken, scheduled a meeting for tomorrow. So just waiting for the other members to accept it, but we are moving forward with it.
Are you going to have a call down like in the near future within the next 2 months or so for this particular requirement?
Well, we're
Or
looking.
year?
This call down is going to happen within the next couple of weeks because there's a deadline to let Colorado know, each of the states, well, who is your identified vendor? So
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
So hopefully that answered your question. It's going to come real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask a question? This is Marquette. We were told a few months ago that there was going to be a call down. So it's going to be, is this the call down that was spoke about a month or two ago without indicating specifically, or was there another call down and this one at the same time
Yeah,
or at
right.
different times?
Yes. When we spoke a couple months ago, that was a totally different call down. And again, I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm going to let Jelani speak on that. This right here is just for this particular Marine Corps situation.
Right. Because of the urgency of this Marine Corps and this deadline, we had to, of course, come up with an immediate call down for this one. But we're still, the committee, we still have to meet on the call down for the other locations that's coming, or that we spoke about the last time.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Hey, well, I thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. Mr. Henderson, you had another question?
Yes, I'm sorry for waiting so long. But I am considering the whole East Coast um, part of it, that a person couldn't relocate or get into a, say if they were, um, if they didn't have enough vendors in another location or another state, um, could that possibly affect us, or could we possibly look into um, maybe switching or transferring to that state, just to be able to take advantage of them being understaffed with vendors in that particular state or something like that?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to be possible because you're saying, I mean, because each state has their processes for admitting people into their program or not, and I'm pretty sure people are just not going to do a one-off, and then go, okay, well, this is done, then you go back to wherever you came from. That's just not how business works. So
And then
yeah.
also just
Yeah,
the
and
process
a lot of the
alone.
right.
If
I was
you
just
was
gonna
on
say
a
the
Go
move
process
ahead.
there
alone
on a,
probably would it'll probably take longer than the deadline to actually select you anyway, or select the incoming vendor.
Right,
So
right. And a lot of states still go by seniority too, as well as performance. So, there's always going to be somebody there with a lot more seniority, so.
Well, and I don't, it's interesting that you brought that up because I'm hearing it
Mhm,
from a different perspective out in the States.
mhm,
And this is
mhm,
something that Jelani and I, we will be getting with the BVC sooner than
mhm,
later. And it's
mhm,
really applying an appropriate weight to seniority
mhm.
versus performance because
Right.
I've been hearing from other states that they're really doing away with seniority, but I'm just going to leave it there. We want to have the discussion with the BVC before we start,
Right.
getting into all of the ins and outs of this. Yeah.
And that's the truth because I went to an RSA meeting with, I guess it was the new chairperson, RSA about a year or two ago. And this is one of the things they were discussing. And I agree. I agree 100% that, seniority is sort of kind of played out a little bit
Mhm.
because you do have people that have a lot of, like me, I have a lot of seniority, but I might be one of those people, which I hope I'm not, that don't perform. You know what I'm saying. And it might be
Mhm.
based more on your performance, as a vendor, whether you've been in there 5, 10, 20, 40 years. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I agree.
Mhm.
and this
The
is
seniority
Jesse,
is.
and where the seniority comes in, I will say that in this program, the seniority has not always been recognized. And I'm saying that from what I know for a fact, it has not been recognized.
Really? Mm. I'm not sure about that. I don't know about instance, but you might be right. Mm.
Oh, I'm right, and I can prove it.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. Well, like I said, that's going to be a upcoming discussion.
Okay.
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 All right. Well,
Mm.
I thank every one of you for taking time out. It's much appreciated. And I hope you
Miss
got
Von
what
Roach, I
you
have
were
just one quick question.
looking
One before you go,
for.
Miss Von Roach. This is
May
Clinton
I
Robinson.
finish my comment, please? I just want to say, I hope that you received the information that you were looking for in order to make informed decisions going forward. But okay, it looks like
No, I'm
was it
here.
Mr.
I'm here.
Robinson? Oh yeah, okay. So Mr. Robinson,
Yes,
what were
ma'am.
you saying?
Yes, it's very important that you get back to me with some answers about me having my personal assistant sometime assisting me with the meeting because of my disability. Some things
Mhm.
that I may not be or may be incapacitated to do that somebody else will, that can sit here with me. And we can get into detail why I need my PCA here. I do think that it's lawful that I do have somebody here assisting me at all times if I need them. because I don't have 100% accessibility. So sometimes I'm assisted with different people, and sometimes I might want to sit in on a meeting, but I might have a eye migraine headache, and that's part of some conditions that I usually have that's associated with my blindness. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then also and then also I just wanted, I have a lot of questions in my head, and I don't mean to offend anybody with anything, but I do ask a lot of questions because it's very important. And I'm glad somebody did speak up and say sometimes experience don't go. I mean, just having seniority don't go with experience. And I think that's why I'm not saying I support Donald Trump, but when they came in with Doge, they're doing away with that in the government. Some people just sit back and they really don't know how to do anything, but then they intimidate people who have a lot of experience. And so I just think it's fair to ask questions along those lines to say, hey, how's this being done? Because they are doing away with a lot of seniority. So, and that's
Yeah, the
respectful to
Mr.
everybody.
Robinson.
Just ask the question.
Uh-huh.
I just asked the question
Right,
with love. All right.
yeah.
LOVE.
Yeah, Mr.
All right.
Robinson. Yeah, Mr. Robinson. Yeah, I was the one, Brenda Beatty, that stated that. But right now, our program
Appreciate
is
that.
seniority based. Mm-hmm.
I know
Okay.
that. But I just want to be able
Okay.
to ask questions without feeling like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, intimidated for asking the question. All right. And I
Right.
just
Right.
say that with
Right.
love. LOVE.
Understand.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. No, and again, I'm just gonna reiterate this. Everybody supports anyone who needs some type of assistance to use that and rely on that. The question that's at bay is, should that person be able to speak during the meeting? And that's what I will have to get back to you on. That's all.
I understand. I really
Okay.
do.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you all and have a wonderful day.
You as
You too.
well. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Later,
Thank
everybody.
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.